I'm going to divide the talk into three, so it makes it easier for you. The first thing I'm going to do is to talk about pearls, but very briefly, because I'm quite sure most of you know as much as I do about pearls. Pearls, that's pearls on their own. And then I'm going to do cultured pearls, and then we're going to finish off with famous people and stories about people wearing pearls, etc. So first of all, pearls. And I'm leaving out a lot, but you have to have a shell that produces nacre before you can get a pearl. And until fairly recently, everything else which produced objects inside shells that were not silvery coloured or had a lustre were not considered pearls. So, for example, when I went in 1903 to New Zealand, the blue...
1903?
2003. It could have been 90. My aunt was out there then, but I hadn't got the money. I said 19, that wasn't so long ago. Anyway, fact is though, that when I went to New Zealand, they were producing blue pearls from the pow shell. The fact is, they were not called pearls, not then. Now, anything that is solid and round, or even baroque, which means ugly, basically it's called a pearl, because they're hard, and some of them are actually used in jewellery. So there was a difficulty, so they decided to make anything like that hard. Now, how did I start being interested in pearls? Well, the very first pearls was in now this is true, in about 1951, when I joined the society. And those pearls, and some of them are at the back, those pearls were from mussel shells, our own blue mussel, Mytilus edulis. And Mytilus edulis produces quite a lot of pearls, depending upon where it is. So if it's an area which is a bit sandy or muddy even, then you get more pearls in them. And if it's clean water, you get clean pearls, mussels without pearls. So the Scottish mussel industry produces pearls on ropes, and they're way up above the base, the shore or the strata, and therefore they are very clean. You don't get lots of pearls. But anyway, mine was in Holland at Schelling, and I was doing a research project on eider ducks. Shows how far away I've got from shells. Anyway, eider ducks. And the eider ducks were feeding on the mussels and other things, but we just picked up the mussels that were on the beach, and we cooked them and ate them, and they were full of pearls, little blue and white pearls. Now, the interesting thing about that, I only found this out about 4 days ago. In Cardiff, in the 1800s, they were collecting mussels, not for the mussel meat, but for the pearls. And the reason for that was that in the Victorian period, they wanted seed pearls. And seed pearls were used in a lot of their jewellery. There's a parure, which means a set of seed pearl jewellery from the Victorian period at the back for you to look at. Now, I'm doing that because it takes a lot of time to look at them and pass them around, so I can get much more in by doing it this way. So, let's come. There are actually four basic pearls. And they are seed pearls, baroque pearls, which are the rough ones, which can be made into anything, as you'll see later, blister pearls, and the ordinary pearl, which has a lovely lustre on it or colour. And they are circular. Now, while I'm just mentioning it, those pearls are never perfect. They're never perfect. And I've got a chart here. Yes, I have. I've got a chart here, which you can pass around if you want. In the pearl industry, cultured pearl industry, what happened was at the end of the 1800s, pearls started running out. They were using them in vast quantities. Queen Victoria wore pearls all the time after Albert died. because she went into black mourning. And the only thing that could really fit were white pearls. So she used fast cotton, and of course all her courtiers and people also wore them because they had to wear what she wore. Or at least similar, not quite the same. Anyway, here is a, can everyone see that? Can you hear it, man? Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you see that triangle? Right, and there's a little triangle, slightly bigger, not a triangle, but from the same thing. Another and another and another. Now this is from the cultured pearls at the time that Mikimoto started selling his spherical cultured pearls after 1905. So Mikimoto started producing cultured pearls because there was a pressure on the market to make them. He wasn't the first, as I'll tell you in a moment. But the fact is that that is the number of perfect pearls. That means pearls that were beautifully luster, had beautiful luster and colour. But if you look at all natural pearls or cultured pearls, they would have a little, somewhere on it, a little mark of some form or other. Just a small one. But they're always there and never actually perfect. Whereas artificial pearl is perfect because it's a glass bead, perfectly made, filled with pearl essence. Anyway, 5%, that 5% of the pearls they culture are actually, can be used in the best jewellery. 23% can be used for jewellery in the open market. And then there's pearls, poor quality pearls, 17%. So you've got 23 and 17 there. This little row here are called shiramata, and they actually can't be used as pearls. They're just too grotty. I'll show you one in a moment. These, which is in fact 50%, make no pearls. The animals die. Because in the implantation process, they have to open the mollusk, and if they open it a fraction too much, it will die. And of course, if they put the seed pearl into it in the wrong place, it will also die. So you can see that in fact, I've got here, it's something like 1 million pearls. If you work that out against that, you'll see that it's a lot of pearls. That most of them, 50%, actually don't produce a pearl at all. So it's quite a not very cost-effective method. That's why pearls are still expensive. Now, so we talked about mussels in Holland, and then I wasn't really interested in pearls then. I just thought they were a bit odd having these pearls in these mussels. And they were real pearls. I mean, they were shiny and beautiful and blue. But they were they're sea pearls. And that means sort of 0.5 millimetre and below. What happened to my help? Oh dear, I lost it. Oh, it's under here, yes. What started me interested in this was when we went to Skye. First time we went to Skye. And the fact is that Jan found this horse mussel. We found them in a gully between Skye and another island. We were on a shore which, it was a rocky shore really with seaweed. It was quite, everywhere on Skye was interesting, but the fact is there were lots of these horse mussels in this place. And she found this. And that would come under the ones that couldn't be used, or maybe, no, you couldn't call it really. I'll pass this round actually so you can see. But the fact is that it's got pearl essence on it. It's pearly. So that's a Baroque pearl, if you like to be precise, but couldn't really be used for anything unless somebody's mad. So that's how I start, and I thought, that's fascinating. I found pearls in Holland. And I thought, well, I wonder what else produces pearls. So I will hand that to, there we are, Martin and Peter. So that was how I started. And it was soon, first of all in Mollusk World, odd shells popped up in little articles like Anomia epiphypum, the saddle oyster, which form pearls. Now I've never found a saddle oyster with pearls in, unfortunately, but I have found quite a number of shells which have pearls, and in fact almost all bivalves, marine and freshwater, produce pearls. So the Americans use their freshwater pearls and the mussel to make buttons, and we had pearls in our margaritifera in Scotland, which are now almost extinct, which is such a shame. But other shells, well, you'll see there's the pink conch, that produces beautiful pink pearls. There are pearls, but quite a number of them at the back, so you can look at, right? So have a look. I'm not going to go through them all, because actually the list is infinite, because also, which I didn't know, gastropods produce pearls too. In fact, I was amazed to see, and that was the first time in the V&A when they had a pearl exhibition on, that cowries produce pearls. But you have to break the cowrie open to get them out. That's the problem. Anyway, so lots of shells produce pearls. Now we come on to, very briefly, size and characteristics. Well, a good pearl that can be used in jewellery has a number of characteristics. It's got to be, of course, spherical. It needn't be. It could be a baroque pearl, which is the teardrop pearl, is really a baroque pearl. It could be called a different one, but they only come up occasionally, and they're used in jewellery. But they're baroque pearls because they're not a spherical pearl. That's the definition. So you have a baroque pearl, which is a teardrop, all right. But as I say, they've got to be spherical, a good shape, or as I say, one or two stand out for being different, like the teardrop pearl or the pear pearl. And then you come on to it can down the list. It has if you get a pearl that you can see quite a number of marks on, that can still be used. But it's what was his name who killed himself in the jewellery market our age? Yes, that's right. Yes, and he advertised that I sell the cheapest pearls, and the next day his company went bankrupt. But anyway, he was selling those sort of pearls. That's how he was getting them cheap. He was getting them from China, like that. So he there. But the two things that are really important are, in fact, not so much the size, although I suppose the very biggest pearls in the world are the ones that come out of a giant clam. Now I thought that there was one that was shown in Newquay pearls, Cornwall pearls, Guernsey pearls, and Isle of Wight pearls. They are companies that sell pearl jewellery, and they're fascinating to visit. But they had an example of a big giant clam pearl. Since then I've got about 20 or 30 giant clam pearls, all being called the biggest in the world. So you get one from Iraq, and that's the biggest in the world. In fact, I say Iraq, I really mean, I think Iran's nearer the Asian pearl thing, because pearls, real pearls, were actually used from Roman times, Greek times even. No, going back Chinese times, I presume, although China Sea does, and a number of countries around there all used pearls, but they were all from the Gulf, which was Bahrain, around Bahrain. And of course, with so many countries all using pearls, you could see how it wasn't very long before, in fact, they managed to get them all the way down to, as I say, Victorian age. So the lustre is one. Now the lustre is how it shines, by the way. The mother of pearl is made up of layers, prismatic layers, which the light goes through, and when it comes back out it produces two effects. One is lustre, which is the shine, the sort of in good pearls it comes out as sort of glow. And the colour, of course. A colour actually is a slightly difficult one, because real pearls, as I say, have rainbow colours, and they're rather sort of gentle. And you'll hear about colours in a moment. So, they started dying out, as I say, in the 1800s, and there was then a rush, and we all think Mikimoto produced the first real pearls. Actually, he didn't. We've got a very nice example of some Buddhas at the back, with Kevin kindly brought in for me. Most envious I am, because they come from China in the 13th century. So it's a long time ago. And they were Buddhas, and what they did was they took some lead, they made little lead Buddhas and just stuck them inside the shell under the mantle. So, and they're very, very rare. And also Linnaeus produced economic pearls. Linnaeus actually put the seeds in the pearl mussels, and he actually got a patent on it, and he gave it away to a businessman. The businessman didn't actually do anything with it in the end, and it just disappeared. And if you want to see those pearls, they're actually in the Linnean Society. I don't know if anyone's seen them in the Linnean Society, but anyway, they're in the Linnean Society for you to see, which I'm sure Sweden. Just trying to think. Yes, I'm sure they're going to ask for them back for their museum in due course. But anyway, so they produced artificial pearl, and in fact, in Japan, 3 or 4 people actually produced pearls by culturing them. They got a seed pearl, which is a teeny little, what we talked about, and put them in, and they produced real pearls. But they were always baroque and teeny. And it was Mikimoto was actually a farmer selling fruit and things in the market, local markets. And he saw fishy, dried fish and all sorts of things, jellyfish, and they all eat them in China, by the way. And he then thought, oh, supposing I could make a pearl, a cultured pearl. In 1988 he started culturing pearls in Ago Bay. In Ago Bay there's a huge pearl industry now. I might actually, this is his house. It has been renovated to be a Mikimoto museum. But it was his house, and he was married to a lovely lady called Umi. Where is it? Did I leave it at the back? Probably left it at the back. I did, didn't I? I think Kevin and I left it at the back. It was a painting, oil painting. You'll see it. Anyway, Umi was his wife. She must have been very loyal to him, because he was always out doing his pearl beds and things. So he was never at home. He did actually have one child, a daughter. Anyway, but he was always out doing his pearls. 1893, she found the first pearl. It was actually a baroque pearl, little baroque pearl. And it was the day of days, because he had actually cultured that pearl. And in 1905, he got the first spherical pearl. And by 1980s, he was a millionaire, billionaire, selling his best pearls to the Americans. Anyway, that's Ago Bay, right? And you'll see all the pearl fisheries. They hung the pearl oysters on these rafts underneath. And that's her showing him the first pearl. Sorry, you won't be getting it. That's okay. Good. Anyway, so he really started the pearl business. And at the back, there are a number of his baroque pearls, a cross and a, I can't remember the name, doesn't matter anyway, 2 other baroque pearls which were produced by him for sale But of course he was really interested in spherical pearls because he actually was selling them. He couldn't, the cross, you'll see the cross in the yin yang or something it is. No one would buy them basically. Anyway, and then of course people started saying, could we make coloured pearls to brighten it up? Because in the past, only 4 coloured pearls were ever found. Up till cultured pearls, there were 4 types of pearl found in the spherical form. There was a pink one, a gold one, a white one, and a black one. And they were the pearls, they came from pearl oysters around the world. Tahiti, black pearls. So until his pearls came along, these pearls were far too expensive for you to go trying to dye them and everything. And anyway, Perkins produced the first artificial dye from coal tar in the 1800s, at the end of the 1800s, and it was purple. And the dye went into pearls. Before that, people could paint them. It never kept on the pearls, so it came off. But this dye did. And after that, all the other colours came from Germany, actually, through the whole rainbow colours. And at the back, there are bracelets and necklaces and earrings and everything else in the way of coloured pearls. And it started flooding the market. Now I went to China in 2010, and in China they had supermarkets which make our supermarkets look like a local shop. They were skyscrapers 30 or 40 stories high, full of sale. Each floor had its own sale goods, each floor. And there was a whole floor which took up, twice the Darwin Centre, selling pearls. It was dreadful, absolutely. You didn't know where to go, actually. And again, there's some photographs at the back showing you the actual inside where the pearls were being shown. And I came away with, and I will bring those so you can see. So if anyone wants to buy a set, you can do so. Because I won't be giving the talk again. These, I tell you what I'll do. I'll take that round as well. These, are the floors inside the supermarket. 2 of the floors you'll see in a moment. But I bought these, £2 each. They're the pearls that shops sell in their jewellery. £2, £100 to buy a necklace. And they were pink, and I didn't think of the black ones at the time, but they were black as well. Pink, and look. I bought as many as I felt I could carry. You'll see in the photograph, it's ridiculous. What I'll do, I'll send a pink and a white one round. And they're called potato pearls, by the way. Potato pearls. Because you can have any shape you like of inverted commas spherical pearls. Now, because you have potato pearls, you have Rice Krispie pearls, you have button pearls, cashew pearls, I don't know how many more. There are hundreds of different names for them. These are, as you will see, spherical, and if you look at them carefully, you will see the blemishes. And these are potato pearls. And they didn't make any difference on the stalls, you just bought what you liked. And that's the stalls. And there are the pearls, look. You'll see. They were just, see? And at the same time, they were selling these coloured pearls. So vulgar, it actually killed the coloured pearl market within a year. That's how long it took for them to stop selling these coloured pearls. I'll just show you one. There are several on the back here. Look. Coloured cultured pearls. What colour would you like? Blue, green, red? We'll show you the most ghastly of them. Here you are. And these are real button pearls. And, well, the others, not sure which made they are. But there you are. And I haven't found anyone who likes them yet. That's the silly thing. They are ghastly, and the red ones are no better. So that killed that market pretty quickly. And now it's very rare to find any pearls that are not either pink or, as I said before, yellow, gold, white, or black. If you look in the shops, in the jewellery shops, they're all those 4 colours. Coloured ones have gone out altogether. Right, so that killed 2 markets in one. The Chinese killed the ordinary pearls market because they just flooded it. There were so many that in fact for a year or two, about the early 2000s, it was quite difficult to get a decent pearl necklace. They've come back onto the market again now. So it hasn't killed it completely. Right, let's go on to necklaces. Oh, I must mention, by the way, of course, they flooded the market also with tins with a pearl oyster in it with a pearl in. Now you see the difference, and they're guaranteed to have a pearl in. Right? They can't guarantee the colour, but they can guarantee there's a pearl in it. Now in the 1800s they couldn't do that because they got X-rays. And what they do, they simply X-ray all the tins, and if there's a pearl in it, they push it onto the market. If there isn't, out the window. So that's how and why. So we get those. And look, just to show you how idiotic that market was, all right, Nauticalia in 2003 was selling pearls, selling these tins at £49.95, right? They then put them up to £79 a tin at Christmas time in their brochure. But then it killed them off completely because Bits and Pieces, which used to be a magazine through the door, it still is I think, anyway, there's a Bits and Pieces shop in Canterbury, was selling them for £8.99. That killed the market there, but they're still selling them. In fact, I made a mistake. Nauticalia in 2012 was selling them at £99.09, but just for a thing there. Did I bring it up to the front? Now at the back there is a box. That's yours, isn't it? There's a box that actually has one of these in for you to have a look. Feel free, by the way, to pick the bits and pieces up if you want to look closer, all right? Don't worry about them. Some are valuable, but I won't tell you which.
Can I just stop you?
Yes, oh, lovely, great.
Okay, you're okay.
I'm all right?
Mm-hmm.
Really? Oh, that's amazing. Of course, I can't find it. Oh, there, one row. No. Anyway, and of course, in America, every place you went was selling them in bowls. Why? I think every shop was selling these wretched things, and I think I've got a price here. Yes. $15, and you got for that a shell, right? But the catch was that you had to buy a necklet. And you'll see the necklet with it at the back in the box, which was, of course, £50. So you said to your girlfriend, "Oh, wouldn't that be nice to have a pearl, for such and such?" "Oh," she said, "you must get me one of those." And then the man would say, "Oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, you've got to pay for the she was looking at the one made up. Buy this wretched thing at 50 quid. And of course, if it was your girlfriend, you had a real trouble wondering whether you should pay it or not. But I suppose if you can get to America, then you could probably pay it. But anyway, they were everywhere, which was quite fun. And these as well, you can still get them the same in Canterbury. Right, now, let's have a look at the history very quickly. What have I got? 20 minutes? 20 minutes? Anyway, first of all, necklaces are the main type of pearl jewellery and are worldwide. You also get bracelets and collars, and they're all at the back for you to look at, etc. And necklaces in the Victorian age, and still today in the elite, you had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 actual necklace shape types. You had a choker, which was round there. You had a princess, which was is the standard necklace of today, about 18 inches, I think, something like that. You then have a matinee, which comes down to the cleavage, you see, and you could show off your cleavage, you see, with a nice pearl necklace, you see. And then you had an opera, which came down to the bottom of your breastbone, but that was at night, so it was sort of full wear. Then you had a rope or a sautoir, and these all had different lengths, by the way, 35, 40, 50, 76, up to whatever. An opera, and then you have a rope or a sautoir, and then you had my favourite, which I think we brought up, didn't we? Probably not. Anyway, it's at the back, it is not here. A flapper. Now, that was the one you got twisted up in. Because a flapper is 120 centimetres long. And of course it was Lisa Morelli and Cabaret and all those back time. And they were in 1924s, sort of Art Deco period, just coming into out of the Edwardian period. You have a torsade, which is a multiple twisted necklace, a floating necklace. Oh, yes, that's at the back. Oh, thank you very much. Kevin's bringing a flapper. Now, the last time I did this, you see, the beauty of a flapper was that it covered areas which you didn't really want them to see, but because of the type of club that they did it in, so they used a flapper, you see, it covers perfectly if you do it right. And of course they used to put it going like that, you see. I'm not trained in being a flapper. So those are necklaces and the other bits. So let's start now quickly on, there's a picture, by the way, of a flapper, 1924. So that's not at the back, by the way. It was. So, flapper. Where do we go from there? Well, 3000 BC, China started using pearls. 2000 BC, China, India started using them. Then you got a whole bunch coming in with the Egyptians and the Greeks and the Romans, and they used lots of pearls. All these were coming from, by the way, from the Gulf, from the Red Sea, so it wasn't far away from them. As I say, they were in the Roman period, it was for pleasure. Pearls were for pleasure. In the Greek period, pearls were for love and purity, and various other things went with pearls. Funny thing is that there is a rumour, I say a rumour, but it's been going on for hundreds of years, that pearls are unlucky. I haven't worked out where that comes from, but I've seen it in a number of books. But in fact, pearls are for purity and love and all that sort of thing. So, and then we come on to, oh yes, I have to remember this. Where is it? Oh, this is, only take me a moment. Oh, that's the Conchological Society. Can't find the pearl mention. No, I can't find it. Anyway, Byzantian Empire had pearls, made pearl jewellery up, beautiful pearl jewellery, and there's a copy of a Byzantine necklace and earrings at the back. So that's Byzantine. Then we go on from there to Cleopatra. I love Cleopatra. The Egyptians and the Romans loved pearls, and Cleopatra was no different. In fact, there's a famous story. Does anyone know the story of Cleopatra? We all do. Actually, you know we don't. They don't teach them in schools anymore, these things. Cleopatra was, first of all, she didn't marry, but she definitely had a relationship with Caesar, who then got killed. And Antony took his place. Anthony came over to Egypt to make real friends and try and get Egypt to join Rome, you see. But Cleopatra was a woman of her own. She was what we call a Me Too woman, which is a new expression. And she had no thing that Antony was going to bring her and Egypt into Rome. And so she had laid on a fantastic dinner and everything. And she had 2 earrings. They were worth, in today's money, £300,000, these 2 earrings. And she took one off and she dropped it into her wine. And it dissolved and she drank it. He said, "You haven't got that sort of wealth in Rome, you know, mate." No way. Actually, it must have been either incredibly horrible wine, or it was probably ground up before she dropped it in. But that doesn't come in the story, you see. Anyway, so Cleopatra. Actually, Rome did take over Egypt later on, which was when Antony and Cleopatra died. It went on from there. We then go on to, let's have a look here. Cleopatra, yeah. Charles the First, oh no we don't. Henry and, I've left them at the back. Henry and Elizabeth were the absolute things about pearls. I mean, they I don't know how they walked around with the pearls they had on, because it was so heavy. You look at the what was called the Armada picture of Queen Elizabeth. I mean, the necklace after necklace and things all over the place. So she really loved pearls, and there are some examples at the back again of hers. And again, dear old Henry loved them. She must have got it from him, probably. But anyway, they love pearls. Now, where did they get their wealth and pearls from? Well, of course, originally it would have come from Bahrain, but they got them from the church. Now, the church was very rich, and they were at their height, really, during what we call the Dark Ages, sort of after Rome left, and then there were a number of kings who didn't dress up very much, and then we get Henry who went mad, and the Renaissance, and they nicked them from the church. They took the gold and all the wonderful vestments and things, and there's an example of a cross that was worn by a bishop before Henry VIII at the back for you to see, that way they worked it. It's mainly gold with a few pearls. But that's where all their pearls came from, basically, the money and wealth from the church. After that, we have Charles I. Sorry, Charles I. It's only a story. Well, not a story. It's a true story. He wore 2 pearl earrings like that when he went to the gallows. So he had his head cut off with his pearls. Now, I don't know if any know, but he then, for some reason, didn't fit in the coffin that they'd made for him. Well, they would without the head, you see, so they had to remake the coffin. And then they sewed his head back on. While doing it, the pearls disappeared. So the pearls disappeared, and they've never been seen since, but theoretically they are in a private home somewhere. There's been no auction where they were sold. So he came along. We then come into what I call, there was dear old Queen Victoria. She liked pearls. There's some examples at the back. Queen Victoria. Queen Mother. Now she wore the necklace that the Queen wears, which is a three chain necklace. Strand. Yeah, 3-strand necklace. You'll see her with it on all the time. Now the Mail, a year or two ago, came up with an interesting story as far as I was concerned. And I don't know why really, but the Mail picks up these stupid stories. Anyway, they were saying the Queen doesn't like her necklace as much as she likes her earrings. And we are selling copies of her earrings. And they're identical to the ones she wears, actually, except that they haven't got diamonds, they've got diamante. But the fact is, they're at the back there for you to, because they were free. All you had to do was to buy the mail, 5 mails a whole week, and send the slips in to the mail. And for months I didn't get anything, you see, and I rang them up and I said, did you get my 5 things and that? And they said, oh yes, they were sent off 2 months ago. I said, I haven't received them. Oh, you better go to the post office. It was a bit late then. And then I found them in in the walking stick stand by the front door. The postman had pushed them through the letterbox, and they had dropped, instead of dropping down on the carpet with the letters, they had dropped into the walking stick. And I was cleaning the walking stick holder, and this little box dropped out. And they're there at the back for you to see. I love that. Anyway, so that's the Queen. We then come on to 2 or 3 people. The Queen, then we have Diana, and there's a necklace of Diana's at the back, and it's beautiful. And it is a proper copy of the necklace. It's got a blue sapphire and beautiful pearls, and it's about that big, and it's at the back. Next to it is another necklace, this time from Grace Kelly, actually from the Grace Kelly, it's got it there, the Grace Kelly Museum or something, from Italy. And following that is Elizabeth Taylor. She wore a necklace with a big pearl, and it was called the Peregrina. Now the funny thing is that people make a mistake. It is the Peregrina, not the Pellegrina. There's a Pellegrina about the same size in Russia, of course. But anyway, and she was given it by Richard Byrne for $169,000. And sort of a week or 2 later, they were cuddling in front of an open fire, nice rug, thick rug, right? And she lost it. She lost it. Well, she didn't know what to do. Well, she was it said she was making a meal in the kitchen for them both afterwards, right? She hadn't said anything, by the way, then, in the kitchen, but I think actually they were making cocktails. I have no doubt they had plenty of servants to make them food. Anyway, her little dog came into the kitchen, bulging, her mouth bulging like this. And she said, what have you got in there? What have you got in your mouth, you silly dog? Yeah, you know, she sort of banged her, and the dog went, and there was the Peregrina on the floor. So Cartier nicked it away and said, you're not getting hold of that again, not until I've dealt with it. So he took it over to Cartier, and for about $300,000, he got Cartier to make a nice necklace, which is at the back there for you to see. The necklace isn't, I can't afford the necklace, but a pearl looking like the one in the Peregrina is there. Right, just to clear up quickly, the market disappeared very quickly when those coloured pearls came out, and this came from the British Museum of Natural History, actually, and it's called a bling necklace. There was a period when bling necklaces became fashionable, about 6 months, I think, because people just didn't, in the end, didn't like them. So bling was a more recent one, and oh, I'm sorry about that. I'll put this at the back. This is the Dark Ages necklace from a bishop, which I think it was. Yeah. And just one thing, did you know? Oh, no one has been collecting pearls from the Red Sea or the Gulf for years now, because they're all coming in from Japan and China. All the cultured pearls, you see, why on earth pay millions for a real pearl? Well, in 2018, you're allowed to dive for gems in Bahrain, and it's a richly rewarding, says Polly Dunbar, who went diving for these pearl oysters in the Gulf round Bahrain. And she brought up, I don't know, 20 or something of these things, you see. And they said you could keep the pearls that were in them. But you see, they were lucky if they got one in 10. Really, you have to have 100,000 or something to get one decent pearl. But the fact is, what they're doing is what they were doing at Woolacombe down in, they were seeding, they were getting these pearl oysters from Japan and China for absolutely nothing. And because no one could sell them anymore, they were all flooded the market, and dropping them into the Gulf. At night, I suppose. Anyway, they were dropping these pearls, and you get one pearl in a batch. That's the whole point. They seeded them to that sort of point. So and if you didn't get one, they would guarantee you one. They'd give you one. So you can do that now, and it costs £64 per person to dive for pearls in the Gulf. And you guaranteed one. So really the cost is £69 plus the extra bit. If you want to set it, don't kid yourself, you've got another 40 or 50 odd pounds for the setting. That's the catch. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that is about it.
Well, thanks very much, John.
I'm sorry if I kept you half asleep.
So we still right. Okay. Well, that was.
There you are. Are there any questions?
Questions? I'm sure there are.
Yes.
Terry.
Oh, we've got lots of questions. Yes.
The Chinese supermarket with the
Yes. You've seen the
Those
pictures. Yeah.
Are they selling them to the domestic market or tourists?
Both. But actually, I think mainly to the West, because they couldn't. The domestic market wouldn't keep them all those little shops going. They're all selling exactly the same thing. So people go, and I'm Detling Antique Fair. There is a lady who actually sells these in the marketplace in Detling. She sells these at £10 each. So she's making £8 there. They're not exactly antique anyway. But, and of course you can buy the bits, to put them together if you want. This one's just got it clipped, or it's some plastic. But you can buy the little bit for almost nothing on the internet very easily. There are one or two places around that still sell the real thing here in the area, but they're difficult to get hold of. Right, yes, is that right? I mean, what I'm saying is that if people go over there, like this lady did, buys up half the bloody shop, right? Takes them all. It's nothing, no one will stop you buying 100 of them coming into the country. It's not illegal.
Yes, just adding to that, there's a jewellery shop in Topsom where my mother lives on the ex-estuary, and I know the woman that runs that, and she goes regularly to China and buys pearls, but quite good quality stuff actually. Brings it back and has it set and dealt with, and obviously makes a pretty big killing on it actually.
The fact is, you can the ones you're looking at photographs, the ones which are cheap, it's all the cheap ones. But there are shops there amongst them that sell really good quality pearls.
Yeah, well, she's buying better quality.
So, I mean, if you're rich like the Americans, they have pearl people come in. Mickey Moto used to go to America and go round selling the pearls.
Yeah, thanks.
Eleanor.
There were two things I was thinking about. One was that, famous wearers of pearls. Do I think that Anne Cleves and Queen Alexandra both have a lot of sort of products?
Oh yes, there is a book, a thick book now, of all the famous people that have worn pearl jewellery or not. Well, I'm saying now, some of them are not exactly got clothes on either. Making use of the pearl, because the pearl, you see, just covers you naturally. If you're a model, you don't mind, do you? I mean, talking about models here, there's a model. She is wearing a bikini
Really?
and a snake. And the bikini's very small, but you won't believe it. It cost £300,000, that bikini, because it's covered in pearls. So if you don't mind just stripping off, you can get away with anything, can't you? On the other hand, Katie can't obviously afford very much, because she was caught with fake, £48 fake earrings. Daily Mail, by the way. Yes.
When you were talking about giant pearls,
Yes.
it reminded me of an article sometime a few years back in a paper about a fisherman in Polynesia or somewhere.
No, Panama.
Panama, who kept this thing under his pillow.
He did 10 years.
10 years.
Yes. He sold it
it's
for he sold it for something like £15 in our money today, which was nothing then.
Yeah.
And it then went into the royal families of Europe, all the way around, and then became a little peregrina for Elizabeth Taylor. That was that pearl.
How big is big? How big is big?
Same size as the one at the back with her necklace. There's an actual pearl there, the same size.
Eleanor, okay?
Yeah. There is a rumour that in fact Queen Elizabeth's pearls were fakes.
Yes, that is true, but what happens is that she doesn't wear real pearls. Oh, by the way, our
One
royal...
sewn on the dresses is supposed to be faked.
Diana wore real pearls on her dress, which was shown at the V&A in an exhibition. But the Queen doesn't wear real pearls when she
No,
goes
I'm
to
talking
balls.
about Queen Elizabeth I.
Oh yes, yeah, because some of them are interesting there. I found that out. They made little slits in the outer costume and just pulled a little bit of white cloth out, silk out, and they looked like pearls in photographs. A lot of people thought they were real, but actually you're quite right, they were actually fake to make it look more. But she did wear real pearls. I was going to mention that our pearls, a lot of them came from Scotland and Wales and Ireland as freshwater pearls, which unfortunately in today's world people just drag any that they can find out on the bank, open them all up, and because they only have 50 or something, they don't find a pearl. And of course that's killed off 50, so they almost stink now. I mean, there's a small group trying to keep them going, but it's almost impossible.
Because whole communities in the 19th century, villages in North Wales,
Yes.
were supported by the pearls.
Pearls industry, yeah. And they all went to the royal family in the end.
Yes.
That's the point, only the rich wore pearls, actually. Bridget Bardot, by the way, Bridget Bardot was another icon of our, well, almost not our age, but she had a beautiful pearl necklace given to her by Mikimoto to advertise it in the movie industry. So, well, thank you for your
Did you
question.
see anybody in your travels actually wearing them?
Wearing
Pearls?
in Japan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, you did. Yes.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Not a lot though, because all of them seem to be quite religious compared with here.
Yes.
I had to sleep in these wretched temples all the way around for 10 days.
Yes.
On a ruddy futon.
Yeah.
Because they put us up in these temples to make money, obviously. And we sat on these futons. We had no meat. We only had that, what's it called, tofu.
Yes.
It wasn't even fried.
Yes.
It has no flavour. So we had tofu in beef stock, very weak, and lettuce leaves. That's what I lived on. No chips or anything in.
No, it's very good for you, I expect.
Nothing. I mean, they didn't
Very
know.
good for you, I expect.
Well, I was quite overweight.
Sorry?
My back was broken. Those futons are sort of a thin eiderdown, very thin. So you fitted onto the floor.
Oh, yes.
Anyway, I wasn't going to that, but I have had some quite fun. I did go in Japan. I did actually go to Mikimoto's in Eigo Bay,
Yes.
where you saw, and actually watch them diving, the girls. They're still using girls, but this is for the public, I'm sure. But anyway, diving and coming up with the pearl oysters and putting them in a thing, and then taking them onto the shore into a sort of little hall, and they were open for us to see. which was really, I mean, it was a wonderful, and I got chips. Because the Americans who go to Mikimoto's place wouldn't put up with tofu and beef stock and lettuce leaves. So they sold pearl oyster meat with chips and battered pearl oyster with chips. They were delicious. Come on. My God, I had a McDonald's fish o' finger or whatever they're called. I couldn't taste or see the fish. It was horrible. No, I mean, it was a disaster. I have fish on Fridays, you see, old-fashioned. And on this occasion I hadn't had time to buy any, so I thought I'd nip in and have a fish and finger burger. Oh, God. It was awful. But in there, they had these pearl oyster meats. They had to get rid of them somehow, didn't they? They had to get rid of them somehow. Anyway, look, I won't keep going. But, you know.
Anybody else with a question?
Anyway, thank you for being such a lovely audience anyway.
Thank you very much.